Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant and I'm back with some more vibe for all you. Yes, and this one is called America Compared. Why other countries treat their people so much better. I guess that's kind of relative. In some things it may treat some people better, and in some things the other places may treat some people better. But you're getting like I said, I'm an immigrant. And I want to see what they say in here. I really do, you know what I mean? So I'm going to try to give you an immigrant perspective of what they saying, because I'm not living it, but I'm not from here, but I'm living it because I've been here since 1986. So, let's see what they have to say. Let's YouTube and simmer.
This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to help me make more content like this, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. I'm going to say something that will probably offend many of my viewers. Let me preface this by saying that I, as an American, include myself in the following statement. Americans are quite possibly the most willfully ignorant people on the face of the planet. We have access
to the generalization
of all human knowledge, yet our understanding of the world rarely extends beyond our own country. And even then, the majority of Americans believe in a vision of the country that does not actually exist. It's not that we're stupid, we just tend to blindly accept that the US is the greatest place on Earth, and therefore don't see any reason to educate ourselves about the realities of the rest of the world. In this episode, we're going to pull back the curtain on how America actually compares to other countries, and consider why the richest country on Earth fails to treat its people with dignity and fairness. I'm going to provide a list of important topics, then for each item we'll compare the American experience with that of citizens from other nations. Hopefully by providing a side-by-side
This is going to be good. This is going to be good.
You'll be able to see the stark contrast between how most Americans see their country and how it really stacks up against the competition. To give you an idea of just how skewed the American perception of our country really is, let's start with a pretty shocking example. Compensation for what are considered low-skill jobs. We'll take the quintessential American company, McDonald's. McDonald's is the world's largest restaurant chain by revenue. It operates in over 100 countries and serves over 69 million customers every day. As of 2018, McDonald's was the second largest private employer, with 1.7 million employees, behind Walmart's 2.3 million. How many times have you heard someone refer to McDonald's jobs or workers in a derogatory manner?
Lots.
For some reason, people who work at McDonald's are seen as inferior or lazy or have any number of other unfair and unkind assessments leveled at them. This probably stems from the old notion of flipping burgers being a job anyone can perform. But the animosity towards low-wage workers has grown significantly in the past few decades. And in America, McDonald's workers really do suffer a low wage. As of 2020, the average crew member at McDonald's makes $9 per hour. The average McDonald's cashier makes $8 per hour. The federal minimum wage in the United States is $7.25, a rate which has not been raised in over a decade, and which should not be considered a reasonable wage for any position, considering the fact that a full-time minimum wage worker cannot afford to rent a two-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States, and can't afford a one-bedroom apartment in over 95% of U.S. counties. Now, the all-too-common response to data like this is something like, well, yeah, it's not a hard job, you should just find a better one. Here's a simple question. Should any job, regardless of technical skill required, pay workers so little that they cannot afford to rent even the smallest place to live? Not to mention other necessities like utilities, food, and medicine. Absolutely not. That is inhumane and cruel, especially coming from the second largest employer in the richest country on the planet. Other notable objections include, McDonald's has to make a profit. If they pay their workers more, they might go out of business. First of all,
hear that all the time.
If workers a fair wage, your company should not be in business. End of story. But again, McDonald's is not struggling to make ends meet. In 2019, McDonald's raked in $21 billion in revenue. But no matter how obvious the exploitation of low-wage workers, Americans are hell-bent on praising the very companies doing the exploiting. Take this article on Reader's Digest, for example. It's titled, "This is what McDonald's workers really get paid." You see that and think, oh, nice, finally some news showing how poorly these workers are compensated. Then you scroll down and, nope, they're actually praising McDonald's, saying things like, the food chain is also great for paying their workers fairly, and McDonald's is one of the highest paying fast food chains in the United States. This level of sycophancy is insane. If $8 or $9 an hour is some of the highest pay in the industry, that doesn't indicate that McDonald's is paying fairly, it indicates that a massive chunk of the population is being paid poverty wages. This is where taking an international perspective is so critical. If all you see is feel-good stories about how well McDonald's workers are paid, you'll never know how badly American workers are actually being treated. Let's take the same company, the same position, but in a different country.
Let's do.
In Denmark. The average McDonald's worker in Denmark, for doing the same low-skill job, makes $22 per hour. Well, hold on, you hear Reader's Digest scream from across the Atlantic. McDonald's workers in America get paid vacation days after just a year of work. Wow, enticing. In Denmark, when you're hired at McDonald's, not only are you making nearly 3 times what you would make in an American Mickey D's, you also instantly have access to a full year of paid family leave and a pension. No slaving away for a year to prove your value to the company. You're hired and you're treated fairly. Simple as that. McDonald's can afford to compensate all their workers like this, but they won't. Because US laws allow them to exploit American workers to the point where they're basically slaves, earning the bare minimum to survive, paying all of their income and often going into debt just to pay rent, and having no way to escape this vicious cycle because they're working such long hours. This is the case across all of America's low-wage jobs, of which there are many. The plight of the low-wage worker is...
Listen. I work at a grocery store. Pretty large chain. Don't just have stores here, but have stores elsewhere with different names, but under the same umbrella of a corporation, right? Minimum wage. They cut hours. They cut hours around Christmas time when people need their money more. You understand what I say? And then on the flip side, people saying that's an easy job. You just go out and you help people out and you bag this stuff. But then you have to put up with the abuse that people put because they have no respect for you because you have that job. No respect. I mean, I'm talking zilch. I see it every day. Luckily, I'm 7 feet tall, so I don't get it as much as other people, but they don't respect you, you know. Because, the minute I saw an argument the other day. They went off on a couple of my co-workers, these 2 ladies. I mean, they just went off. They call them Karens here. I guess they call them that all over the world. They went off. And why did they go off? They went off because there wasn't any ice cream stocked. And they were cursing and they were carrying on. And then they say, what they say? They said that the workers weren't acting professional because they wanted to berate them and don't want them to say anything. And like I told one of the guys, if you weren't on the job, they wouldn't talk to you like that. But they talk to you like that simply because they know you need the job to survive. So they're going to disrespect you and you have to take it because you need the job, to survive. And they'll talk down to you, man. They will talk down to you. And the thing is, well, you should be happy you have a job. And then on the flip side, they go, well, you're lazy, that's why you have that job. And, you should do better. If you want to get a better job, go to college, do this. Well, I have college people working there. I have a guy working there that actually teaches at the college and still have to work there to make ends meet. But he's teaching part-time at the college. So you have to have this part-time job just to make ends meet. And they will come in there and look down on you. Dude have a master's in English. Several people there used to be teachers or are teachers, and they still have to work part-time there to make ends meet and get disrespected because they deem them as lazy. That's why you're working there. You're lazy. You're not smart. You're stupid. That's why you have to work there. All you're doing is, in the McDonald's case, you're flipping burgers. And that, my friends, is how it feels like there. So, you could say the corporation is causing it, you could say the government is causing it, but the people aren't treating each other right, with respect. You know what I mean? And that's not a general statement. There's some people that do that. There's really nice people that come in there, and I'd say about 60% of the people that come in there are pretty cool. They're friendly, they laugh, you know what I mean? They empathize with how you get treated and all of that. You know what I mean? But, then there's those that will just come in there and expect you to be their servant, slave. And you're not getting paid a whole lot. Same thing with the McDonald's thing. Same thing with any other chains of businesses. You know what I mean? There's videos on the internet where people are just totally berating them. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man, but it's true. I'm living that vibe.
It's incredibly dire. And all you have to do to understand that is look at how those same workers are treated in other wealthy countries. Let's move on to another topic, work-life balance. Fair wages are definitely part of this equation. If you're paid fairly, you don't need to work a second job, which will free up your time to be spent elsewhere. But we're going to focus on other metrics, specifically the length of the work week, vacation time, and parental leave. Let's start with the US. Most Americans would say that...
And I tell you what's ironic about this is, actually two things, piggybacking on what I just said. The one thing, here's one thing. Piggybacking on the first thing that I was talking about, how you get treated by them, they will come to you and curse you out, but they will never call that corporate and says, hey, why are you treating the people like that? Or if something is wrong, they curse you out, like you have some kind of power to fix it, when you don't. If stuff is coming down from the top to the bottom, that's the absolute disrespect that you get there. Now, segueing a little bit to what they're saying here to a certain degree is, you have politicians who go on there and talk about family values, and everybody go, oh, he's a good family man. And then it's the same politicians that probably own businesses that have people work on holidays, like Thanksgiving. Or, you know what I mean, what's the thought I have? But yeah, they have you work on holidays when it's supposed to be a family time, like Thanksgiving, you know what I mean, and Christmas in some cases. But you work. But they run on family values. And they take you away from your family. And then blame you when your family falls apart. Oh, you don't know how to keep your family together. You know, that's the problem with this world. Nobody knows how to keep family together. Blah, 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 blah. The days when you should be with your family. You work so long, or as you come, you get cursed out, blah, 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 and you go home. And luckily I live alone, so I just come home and I watch videos to relax and thing. You know what I mean? But imagine being treated like that at work and then going home and having to deal with your family with all that stuff swimming around in your head. I mean, even me, I live alone. After I come from work, I want to sit down and watch some videos, and you know, sometimes I want to record it so we could watch it together, and I just don't have the energy to do it because somebody just cursed me out. Listen, let me tell you how absurd this is. I had a black lady call in to complain on me, saying that I was racist against black people. For real. She complained that, and here's what her complaint was. Okay, I bag groceries sometimes, or mainly that's my job. And we are taught, when you bag that one, if you're the only bagger there, you go to the next person, the next cashier, and bag there, and you go back and forth. She complained that every time she gets in line, that I would move and go back for somebody else. Now I'm following protocol. But she thinks because we're the same color, I should stay there and bag for her. And if I don't do that, that makes me a racist when I'm following protocol. You get that kind of vibe, man, and then you get paid not enough and you're struggling to make ends meet. And they expect you to be satisfied with that. And then they blame you on top of that for having that job. It's just crazy, man. You know, so it's not just the corporations, it's not just the government, it's the way people treat each other. That's why at the ending of my videos I always say take care of each other. That falls in line with that. You see what I mean? I say? Let's keep going.
40 hours per week is full-time. That seems to be the general consensus. But, in keeping with the country's exploitative labor practices, the hilariously named Fair Labor Standards Act does not actually define what qualifies as full-time. That's left up to the employer. Okay, why does this matter? Well, think of your past part-time jobs. Did you get any benefits? Healthcare, 401k? Probably not. Most benefits, when they're offered at all, are reserved for full-time employees. Companies don't want to provide benefits because they affect their bottom line. America is all about cutting costs, and providing workers with fair compensation is a cost. So, imagine you apply for a full-time job at Best Buy. You're offered the job, but they tell you they only have part-time positions, but they can give you almost full-time. They make it sound like they're doing you a favor, offering you more hours than normal part-time. But this is just another example of employers exploiting their workers. If you work 37 hours per week, you're essentially a full-time employee. But they don't have to provide you any sort of benefits. No healthcare, no vacation, nothing. This is a common practice. Companies will hire people, but keep them just below the threshold for full-time to avoid providing fair compensation. I've seen it
See
happen.
it every day.
I used to work at
Every
Best
day.
Buy, and they would do it all the time.
All the time.
And that's just the companies who are still trying to appear generous. Others.
And I tell you what they do to what was it, man? God, it was the tip of my tongue. I got so much swimming in my head with this year because I'm living it right now. I'm living this vibe. All right, now, what was it they do? Good Lord, I lost my train of thought. I'm so excited doing this here, but you know, they do that. They cut hours. Okay, yeah, I used to work at a toy store, right? And I had a really cool manager. And one time, they gave them a bunch of hours. So what he did was, the people that are working there, he gave them the hours. Corporate called him and told him, why are you giving them so many hours? These individuals that are working there right now, and I worked for this company for 20 years now. The individuals that are right there right now, why are you giving them the hours? Hire more people. So the manager said, well, what's going to happen in about 2 or 3 weeks when you cut the hours? Just don't give them hours. So you're hiring people with under the pretense that they're going to get hours, and then you say, when you give less hours, just don't give those people hours. Because you hire them part-time and thing, you know what I mean? Give them 15 hours, you know, give them 10 hours. You know, and I see some people get 10 hours a week. And they expect you to survive on that. And when you complain, you cry, baby. And to tell you the truth, even other people who are working jobs like that say, what are you complaining for? At least you have a job. So the people are kind of putting themselves in that position. Like there was a strike. I was driving by a strike one time, and people are shouting, get a job, get good wages, because they were hiring outside of the state to work those jobs. And they're shouting, get a job. That's the point. They don't have a job because they're hiring other people outside of the place to come do the job. And they are trying to find work. It's just crazy, you know, and I'm saying this because I want people to realize that it's not just the corporations doing it. It's the people. Instead of going back in the people who are struggling, they back in what the corporations think. And you know, like, and the reason for that is for the reason they said earlier in the video, where it's constant, oh, things are so great, oh, things are so good, oh, you know what I mean? This company treats you like gold and all of that. So they read all of that, and that's what they believe. So when you complain, hey, what are you complaining for? You got it all, homeboy. That's what I'm talking about there.
Will simply not offer benefits at all, or set their full-time positions at 50 or 60 hours per week. Sales positions are notorious for this. They'll often say, well, we expect you to work 40 hours, but all the top sellers are working 60 to 70 hours per week. This is coercion. They're trying to pressure you into working more hours to benefit them, and the compensation is never what they claim it will be. By allowing employers to define full-time work, American workers are held captive by corporations, forced to either work absurd hours to qualify for full-time benefits, or find a second job to help cover the cost of things like health insurance.
I had 2 jobs for 5 years.
Lead to a terrible work-life balance, and as real wages have decreased and benefits have been offered less and less over the years, huge numbers of American workers have developed an unhealthy work-life balance. For example, in 1960, when workers had real bargaining power, only 20% of American women worked. Today, 70% of children live in households where both parents are working full-time.
Yep.
Where does all this lead? As of 2020, over 85% of American men and 66% of women work more than 40 hours per week. We work 137 more hours per year than Japanese workers, 260 more than the British, and 499 more hours per year than the French. Why do other countries have such a better balance? Because many of them have laws that cap the length of the full-time work week.
Boom.
Companies are required to pay their workers fairly and allow enough time off for employees to maintain a healthy work-life balance. That's not the case in the US. Vacation time is a similar story. Whereas many other countries mandate that employers provide paid vacation and sick days, the US does not. In every industrialized nation, workers get more paid vacation days and holidays than in the US. Here's a depressing graph to illustrate just how poorly we treat our workers. France 31, Spain 34, Austria 38, America 0. 0 paid vacation days, 0 paid holidays. And remember, These are the mandated figures. Every Austrian worker gets a minimum of 38 paid days off per year. Even in the worst possible employment situation, they'd still get 38 paid days off. In the US, many workers are lucky to get Christmas or Thanksgiving off at all, and the odds that it's a paid holiday? Next to zero. Let's move on to our final comparison, paid parental leave. Many Americans aren't even aware this is a thing, so let me explain. When an employee of a company has a child, sometimes they're offered parental leave, a period of time where they can stay home from work to bond with and take care of their new baby. This greatly benefits the employee, the child, and, in the long run, the company. Because the employee will be happier, less stressed, and more loyal to the company. Of course, offering paid parental leave doesn't benefit corporations in the short term. And if there's one thing that encapsulates the American business philosophy, it's short-term gains over all else. So it won't surprise you to learn that the US is the only industrialized nation on the planet that does not mandate some amount of paid parental leave. This may be shocking to my American viewers because being able to get paid to spend time with your newborn child sounds like an impossible dream in our dystopian labor market. And honestly, it probably is impossible in our current America. We're so invested in self-destructive capitalism that even suggesting the possibility of paid parental leave would put US politicians out of a job. That's not the case in the rest of the industrialized world. In fact, every other OECD nation, and even in many third world countries, new parents are guaranteed at least several weeks of leave.
Yep.
Let's take a look at a few of them. Ethiopia, a country with an annual gross national income of under $900 per person, offers 90 days of leave with 100% pay. Madagascar, 14 weeks at 100%. Afghanistan, 90 days. Denmark, 52 weeks. Norway, 56 weeks. France, 16 weeks at 100% pay for your first child, up to 26 weeks for your third, on top of 104 unpaid weeks. Lithuania, 52 weeks at 100%, plus an additional 52 weeks at 80%. Again, the United States does not mandate a single day of paid parental leave even for the mother, and the father is never considered. This means that workers in America have to choose to either pay the exorbitant cost of childcare or have one parent quit their job in order to take care of the child. These are both bad options, which often lead to economic precarity. But that doesn't matter to the companies employing American workers. Profit is the only thing that matters. Hopefully seeing these labor practices compared like this has made it clear that not only is the US not living up to its claim to being the greatest nation on earth, but also that it consistently ranks poorly and often dead last in terms of labor metrics. Why is it that the wealthiest, most powerful nation on earth can't pay their workers a fair wage, or provide health care, vacation time, or paid parental leave? You should realize by now that it's not that they can't, it's that they won't. Everything in America is beholden to the almighty dollar. Profit is the only motivator. If an action does not produce a greater profit, it will not be considered. Over the last few decades, Americans have watched as our livelihoods, our quality of life, and our dignity have all been stripped away by those who already make obscene amounts of money. Those in power say we're all in this together, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The ultra-wealthy and the world's largest corporations rely on Americans remaining ignorant. They rely on us accepting the lie that America is the greatest nation on earth, that it couldn't possibly get any better. All you have to do to shatter that lie is to take a look around the world. Other nations take care of their citizens. Even impoverished nations, or nations that we've bombed into oblivion, take better care of their people than the US does. American workers need to relearn the language of class struggle, and work together to break the wheel of the capitalist machine. If we want to claim that the United States is the greatest place on earth, we need to make it that way.
It's funny watching this because, you know, I'm living it and I'm seeing people around me live it. Like, man. I know some of you say, go back to your country. But then if I'm not making enough money to survive here, how the hell am I going to make enough money to go back to where I'm from? You understand? And you know, that's where you get trapped. And it's not American people that are doing it. They sort of let it happen, you know, and they're not knowing how to fix it. And that's just an absolute fact right there. Because having conversations with people that I work with and stuff like that, I could tell that they have no clue. They feel helpless. You know what I mean? Just struggling to make ends meet, man. There are companies that actually treat their employees decently. I guess it just depends on the company and who is there. And I can't think of one offhand right now, especially in the customer service realm of commerce. Nah, nah. See, I had a conversation with somebody before, and it's like they keep saying that, well, corporations shouldn't have to pay more taxes. It's unfair. But if you make less than somebody, okay, here's what I see. This is what I see. We have corporations not paying taxes, right? And they sell goods to us. So they're not paying taxes which are supposed to fix the infrastructure and stuff like that. They use the infrastructure for free to bring the goods to places where we work, where we don't get paid much, and then we buy it. So they're making double the money because they're not paying taxes, and then we pay the taxes to fix the stuff and then buy the food or the groceries or whatever material from them. Double profit. I know it might sound simplistic, but tell me if I'm wrong down in the bottom and thing. And like I'm saying, there's really great things about this country. Really great things that I like, you know what I mean? You relatively have freedom of speech, relatively speaking. You could pretty much believe what you want to believe. In a lot of cases, as long as you're quiet about it, you're good to go. That's the truth, but I ain't gonna go on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? This video here just hit the nail on the head, man. I'm watching people live it, even people in decent jobs. You know what I mean? They hit a cap, and they don't make any more, and they work for 20-something years in a place, and don't. I mean, they don't even offer you employee of the month recognition anymore. Nothing. So you just go in there, you're a worker bee, you know what I'm saying? And this is the reason why they emphasize the trade school. And I'm sitting there going, y'all going to trade school while the rich is getting in trouble for trying to pay to send their kids to the big schools. You're always going to be working for them. They don't want no competition. Rich people don't. They don't. They want you to keep working for them. They want the kids to be on top. And you're just the worker bee. You know what I mean? That's what universities have turned into. Everybody goes to college so they can find a better job. Everybody gets an education, but they don't get educated. Does that make sense? Anyway, it's been cool. I love this video because I feel it. Not just for me, because I could survive. I'm from the third world. But there's people I know, man. Wow. Just struggling. If you get sick and you're out and you don't have time to use, you don't get paid. Boom, you fall back. 2 steps forward, 10 steps backwards. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Anyway, man, we need to start taking care of each other. We need to start taking care of each other. That's what we need to do. Y'all take care of each other. Cool runnings.